Hello guys, I'm Andrei, a certified translator and a real estate concierge. My company, LLC SIS, has been relocating people successfully over the last 4 years, relocating mostly from the west to Belarus. And today's clip is about the Russian-Belarusian Act about mutual acceptance of visas, which has a lot of tricky questions about how this law is going to be applied in the field. Obviously, we have the first accounts of the people who traveled back and forth, and now we'll go step by step and digest all the intricate issues that can come up after you've read and understood the law, got your ticket, and got yourself some trouble on the way. It happens. That's why we're taking these things very seriously in the immigration field. That's why I'm filming this little video for you guys. Thank you for staying with the channel. A somewhat obvious but necessary remark: all the information you're gonna get here is free of charge, is my summary and digest of several sources, contradicting sources in Russia and in Belarus. Some replies were written down, some replies were verbal from several sources in the field, like the border control of Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, Kaliningrad, and such like. So all this comes in a package in this video. Anything more specific, more technical, more paper proven is available to the supporters of this channel. I believe it's going to be fair. And if you need a more case-specific consultancy, clarification, or something, you have a question, my contact details are over here, and links are under the video, in the video description. So are the donation links if you wish. And I'll be happy to run a quick research for you, especially if you supported my channel before this question came up. Normally it's more helpful when that happened. Let's see how the law works in the field. Again, this is not a legal advice, just my translator's professional vision of how the written things are applied in the field. Again, guys, section by section, the answers to the questions which were already asked, which will be asked by many people in future, are coming in respect to a massive traveler, to a person with a passport, to a person with at least one visa, and to a person with residency, be that temporary or permanent residency. Something more niche like stateless persons, sportive events, and all the stuff which is also part of this agreement will not be reviewed in this clip because it's very, very niche and rare stuff. So the obvious general line: one visa, either from Belarus or from Russia, takes you to the other country as well. Which means if you get a standard tourist visa to Belarus for 30 days, you have 15 days in Belarus and 15 days in Russia. The countdown of your stay in both countries starts when you enter one of these countries, either country of the agreement, either Belarus or Russia. It's important to remember that if you are on a visa, no matter what kind of visa, not residency, you'll need to get a migration card. And as you enter Belarus, you ask for one with the border control of Belarus. And if you miss that point, you'll have to get a migration card from a migration office in Belarus, where you are staying temporarily, where you are registered temporarily. Once you arrive to Russia, you have no chance to get a migration card to get processed in Russia with the Federal Migration Service or with basically to get checked into a hotel, and you're in a trouble. I would like to highlight the point, which is on the paper, that residency holders do not have to have a migration card. Most of the cases, most of the scenarios we'll be discussing here are from the point of view of a person who has a Belarusian visa, whatever visa, entering Belarus first and then proceeding to Russia next. That's kind of important to keep mind Belarus oriented, because I'm not an expert on the Russian migration affairs, although it's an exciting field to dig into, but they have a slightly different system to us, and that may be a bit confusing. Electronic visas, the one that exists for Russia, giving you 16 days in Russia, and the one that's going to be introduced in Belarus from the 20th of March, a clip reviewing that procedure will follow, are also a subject to this agreement. So Russian electronic visa also gets you here, although 16 days for both countries is kind of compressed, but in theory it still works. And apparently the right to come, stay, and transit allows you to leave either country for a third country, although this is a bit of a controversy between the local services over here. But apparently it's written down and it's logical. And although it's kind of not written down clearly, flights from Brest and flights from Minsk are all international, are all subject to border and not customs control, just border control in Russia. So the FSB guys will check your papers just like they do at the train station of Smolensk, and apparently there is no stamp, although they have the right to put a stamp of the border crossing, but apparently they don't do according to the recent field experiences. But apparently it's not just a check and they will know that you have been through. On a Belarusian visa, you can go to Russia by land, by motor roads, which are 6 designated motor roads written down at the end of the agreement, and I'll inject the motor roads in the video description. Railway connections. The Russians have confirmed that any train originating from Belarus is an international route, although I would kind of recommend to stick to the international routes like Minsk to Moscow or Minsk to Kaliningrad. Hence another smart question by my foreigners: can one go by train to Kaliningrad from here? Yes, a courteous FSB guy from Kaliningrad confirmed that one can take a train from here and disembark in Kaliningrad. Lithuanian disembarkation to catch a flight from Lithuania is something I never checked, and it's very technical, so it's something you have to check as you try to do that. The fundamental policy of this act is that a holder of a Belarusian visa, for example, can also go, stay, transit via Russia until the visa expires. And the number of entries actually is to be observed. If it's a single visa, you can't go back to Belarus and do something else in Belarus. Apparently, the Russian border service, the FSB guys, will not let you in. And today on the phone, several guys confirmed that to me. Although the consulate guy from one of the Russian consulates say, no, you can travel back and forth as much as you wish. So it's a bit contradictory. It's also important to remember how many days in a year one can stay rather than reside in either country. Generally in Belarus one can stay for 90 days in a year. It's a January to December kind of year, not starting from the first entry of yours. And for EU citizens, I think including the UK, since 2020, it's 90 days in 180 days. And apparently in Russia it's the same, about the same. I cannot guarantee that. There is a website whose link is down below, referring to each and every country with a number of days of stay in a year. And it's kind of contradictory because it doesn't say to any EU country how many days they have. My prior research, my casual research, reveals the same figure, 90 days in 180 days. But that is your research, that is your homework. So this is the number of days that you can stay in the other country. Let's say you have a permanent residency or temporary residency of Belarus, and you can go to Russia at any point and stay this many days in a running year. Although you remember that the countdown of the stay days starts when you've entered either country on either visa, and both countries run your stay countdown. When you have residency, your status changes, and the residency is like another visa, and it's only consuming your days in the other country when you're actually there. For example, you've come to Belarus on January the 1st. By February the 1st, you get your temporary residency for the rest 11 months, let's say, and you want to go to Russia. So how many days can you spend there? The answer is generally, unless you are from the EU country, generally you can do 60 more days throughout the remaining year. It doesn't really click and tick as you are in Belarus in February and March. It's only the days that you're actually staying there, so you can take a month visit in May, take a month visit in September, and so on and so forth. And as you visit Russia on a Belarusian, let's say, temporary residency, you have to register as well. And in Russia, it's 7 days to register versus 10 days over here. 7 working days, by the way. They do not count Saturday and Sunday. In Belarus, it's 10 calendar days when you enter it that you have to register. they 10 register or leave. So that's slightly different too between the two countries. One more vital point about the TRP and this act. The residency can be obtained based on the visa issued by a respective country. Like one country's visa-free does not extend onto the other, and people who are visa-free for both countries must check which policies work for them and how. Belarusian student work and private visas are giving only Belarusian residencies. You can't show up here on a Russian private visa and apply for the temporary or permanent residency. Whichever is applicable in your case, that will not work. Well, guys, roughly this is about it. We could call it an official company draft for this law explanation. Maybe very soon there will be questions and answers released by different related agencies that have been firing replies back and forth, again, sometimes contradictory. So folks on the ground in the departments are confused. You can imagine what happens in the ticket offices of the bus companies or some, operating stuff in the field. How many hearts were broken when the 2020 visa-free was introduced, and you can only fly out, you can only go through this border and that border, and people very casually do their homework. Well, that's about it. It's going to be a bit heartbreaking at times, but if you have technical field questions that are kind of mass market, kind of frequent questions, I'm happy to run a free research on these and include those into a final video. Otherwise, I would love to thank the guys who supported these videos lately. The names are here. The patrons that do that monthly, there's Patreon link, which I can't open from Belarus, by the way, but there are still some dollars going back and forth. Guys, I would like your feedback, likes or dislikes, comments down below. $5 or $10 to the either donation platform would really help to keep the thing going and to improve the content, because if that's something you like, that's something I like as well. Thank you for staying with the channel, and travel wisely. See you in Belarus. Cheers.